Welcome into the Jackson Duffies, my Supercoach side. Just want to give you an update on where I'm at after the team list this week. There are a couple of changes and just a quick review on where I'm at so far after the first couple of games with the three players that I did play. I'm going to give you a bit of a mention to guys that I'm potentially looking at as well, and guys I think that can do really, really well. Also, this hooker position is going to be really, really fun. Personally got Mamazelis and Smith there at the moment. Pretty happy playing Pete. I think he can score sort of anywhere from that 40 to 65 at this point, and going for someone like Starling would have been a fun play to kick things off in that Vegas game there. But for those guys, we do have Riley Smith, we do have Corey Pakes, all solid options as well at that cheaper price. And if you want Harry Grant, I think he's a great pick as well. For my front row forward, it hasn't changed right now. I am using Simpkins in there as just a looper for the year with 26 guys. I'm just going to lock and load with the 25 and use him as a guy that can switch between the two positions for the whole year. And yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. I just think that there's not a lot of guys that you can pick at that point, and I'll just save the 50k and get the team that I want rather than mucking around with that fourth front row forward or sixth second row forward position. It just always seems to be gross. So with looping being a little bit more important and easier to do this year as well, I think we're locking that in. Tino, I think he looked great in that trial, so I'm going to start with him for someone that has tremendous upside. I don't need him in this round one, so yeah, he'll be awesome come next week to use as a starter. We've got Horsburgh, who scored 61, which was good, and then Terrell May, so pretty stock standard in that position. For the second row forwards, I've changed a little bit in this, and it was mainly around the bench. And I am sitting with Ryan Couchman in there. He's just really cheap at the moment. So him at 265, I think is a pretty solid pick. I think he keeps that spot long term, and he has an opportunity to score better than where he's priced at. And then Lockie Hubner. It might be a shorter term play, but there's not too much. I'm not picking Goz, so Hubner comes into the side. And the big change at the moment is Nafahu White coming in. I didn't have a tremendous amount of cash left. I got 44,500 in the bank, which I think is pretty solid, and I'm fairly well set up for next week. I think with White at that price point, he's the best of the lot. You got Fina Firiaki in there at that one as well. I would have liked someone like Tom Gilbert, but I couldn't get up to him from White. So I'm going to stick with White there, 367 with the dual. Obviously helps me with coverage across those two, given I have 3 2RF duals in the front row forward, and now the one in the second row forward with Watson being able to go between hooker and the second row. And Watson, with his little setup, I think it probably pushes him to 13 for a little bit and gets him running a bit more. So I think that's actually pretty good. Even if he was to play somewhere around that 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and it was like 50 odd at hooker and 20 odd in the lock position, I think that's probably good for him anyway. We want him running, and we want him involved in some attacking stats, tackle breaks and all the good stuff like that. So yeah, locked in with that. White, I think, is a pretty solid early play, and if we can get him a good price rise somewhere into the 400s and something better pops up later on, then we'll move on from him. Preston with that bench, I'm not super excited about. We're unsure what's going to happen with Josh Curran next week. He'll come back in, but is it for Salmon? Is it for Harry Hayes? So if that was the case, I think it's a little bit safer that we could get Preston playing the full 80, but I'm going to back his upside in Supercoach. I'm not sure at the moment in fantasy if I'm going to take him or not. But yeah, that's the second row forward position. For the halfbacks, Cleary and Duffy. So I had Cleary in there with a 68 in that first game. I did leave him as my vice captain, and captain Yo in fantasy. So would have been good to have Yo in Supercoach, that's for sure, with his 90. But I think that's fine. I didn't take Hines, so I'm happy with that setup. And then Duffy looks like he's playing, so I will start him this week. Metcalf, I started him for his 12 or 13, whatever it is. Pretty gross. So they're the 3 players that I did have: Cleary, Metcalf, and Horsburgh. And yeah, it's fine. I have changed my team, though, to set up potentially selling him either next week or the week after in round 3. And that's by spending up a little bit and selling Sione Finau. I had 330 in my bank, which was ideal, obviously, for potential changes in TLT 1B. And Brimson came in for Finau. Now, Brimson's going to help with the centre wing situation. Also, didn't take Tamale in round 1, which was a bit frustrating. I just I'll leave him and see how he goes. And he scored really well, so I actually would have started him if I did own. But I thought Sione Finau would be able to come in and take that spot, but wasn't to be, at least in round one. And so Brimson's going to come in, and he could come in to 5/8 for Metcalf. So I'm just doing a little bit of foresighting right now, so I don't have to lock in too many trades. And I think could easily go Metcalf down to Tamale in the next couple of weeks. It's a pretty simple one for me. So that's where I think building some flexibility for your side can be really, really important. And that's what I wanted to do in this pick this week. And I could have picked guys like Dewey, but I've decided that Brimson has a little bit more upside with the run that they do that they do have, and I don't have enough cash for Campbell. So Brimson it is with that 5/8 duel should be pretty fun. And then Burton, I got him at 648. I'll just lock and load him and stick with that one. So Brimson's partnered by Purdue and Rob Toya right now on my bench, not playing. Shibasaki's come into the starting side now. And I do have him paired with Marzu and Lucas, and then Garrick as well. And obviously having Brimson being a quality centre wing, just going to help later down the track in round 4 if something happens as well, and I can't field a good enough side in the centre wing. Brimson could come down, or he stays there. If I've got Tamale, hopefully he keeps his spot. Hopefully Shibasaki's still there in round 4. But if he's not, we have Purdue and Rob Toya doing some good stuff. So we'll see how things work out, but Garrick's in there as well. I'm excited for him coming into this week. The other question is, can you captain Terrell May? I definitely think you can. In my side, I vice captain Cleary, so I think for me it's Turbo or Ponga, and right now Turbo has that captaincy, and then Ponga is going to sit in the flex with Ayongi at 232k in that spot. So pretty happy with my Supercoach setup, 44.5k in the bank, and with a potential move of Metcalf to Tamale. Obviously, plenty of injuries and different things could happen across the side, and that is something to think about coming into this week for sure. Other guys you should be looking at in centre wing, I think guys like Skelton can be really fun coming into this one. If you want to spend up, guys like Herbie, still really good. In that lower to mid tier, it is Adam Dewey. You can bring in Brimson. There's definitely a few guys to have a bit of a look at there. Lomax, can you pick him without Moses? It's probably a no at this point. Tupou, probably a no. Eero scored a try. Fletcher Sharp at 6. Like, it's just okay up at this point here. Lehigh Hopewadi should be able to come out and do pretty well. Bradman Best will be fun at 564. So yeah, it's nothing extremely special through this part. Like you see Campbell Graham back named in that squad, which is great news. If you're looking at your centre wing, at your 2RF, guys like Olakwatu I think can do a really good job. I really like Gilbert and what he can possess. I'm a little bit worried about Finefeyaki. If you're interested in Kobe Hetherington, then I think that's fun as well. Halfback wise, there's not too many options. I think you've taken one or two of them and probably have Duffy as your secondary. I think Munster's going to be a good pick at 5/8, and Dylan Brown probably scores fairly well this week as being a bit more of a control guy with Ronald, and we're unsure how things are going to look with Moses over the next month. So that's where you could look at him. Maybe not as a perfect play for round 1 against the Storm, but going forward, I think if Moses isn't there, we've seen Brown do a pretty good job. We've also seen him have some great times next to Moses as well, and the big worry with their team would just be how well can they go without Moses. So if they're scoring lots of points, he'll be involved in a lot of that for sure. Fullbacks, I think it's really just Walsh you could take other than these two, and obviously Teddy up top. 1100s last year, it was crazy. There's not too many cheapies outside of what I've put in my centre wing, that's for sure. You can go up a little bit higher, but yeah, guys like Stafford Toa didn't make the squad. Finau didn't make the squad either. Royce Hunt, you could have a play with in the front row forward. Tino's there, obviously, and a couple other guys, but it's not too much. So it's probably like a collection of 40 to 45 guys that you can pick that are going to be different from these games onwards. With the 6 games left, a lot of decent options went in that first game with Hosking, with Starling, all these types of guys there. But just try to keep as flexible as possible across each game. Look at your team. Where's the setup? Was there an injury in the game I just watched? You have unlimited trades right now, so be flexible on that front and use them wisely while you can. I'm trying to do that in both fantasy and Supercoach, and you should do the same as well. Short and sweet for Supercoach this week. I hope that video helped you out. If you're interested in seeing my team, you got it, and just some of my thoughts around the flexibility as well. Thanks so much, guys. Check out the description for everything you need to know. If you're a fantasy player especially, the private group is down there. And also make sure you do subscribe and follow along on YouTube and also the podcast. Thanks, guys.